Hi, good afternoon, guys. We have Mr. Manish Panchal. He is an independent director and member of board with ILFS Asset Management Fund. He is also a strategic advisor to several large and medium-sized organizations. Till last year, he was head of Tata Strategic Management Group, where he led life sciences, healthcare, chemical and energy, and supply chain management practices. He's also a member of think tank committee, FICCI, for chemical and petrochemical industry, and actively involved in policy advocacy. And he has over 25 years of experience and is an expert in turnaround management. I really appreciate your time, Manish. That's quite a bit of resume you have over there. It took me quite a bit of time to finish that introduction, but really appreciate your time. Thank you and welcome. Okay, I'm gonna, Manish, we are gonna try and keep this very short. I'm gonna directly dive into the question why we are here. We're here because of this COVID lockdown, and I really wanted to get your opinions on, what do you think is going on? So the first question is, of course, how does coronavirus impact your day-to-day life, your personal life, ideally?
Sure. So, well, Avinash, first of all, let me thank you and your team for setting up this wonderful Key Pundits expert session.
Thank you.
This will definitely help the viewers from SME sector to get better insights on how to manage business post-COVID. So coming to the question, the impact on day-to-day life, it starts with getting fresh milk and veggies and ends with managing house chores. In between, you have to do work from home. So business part of that. So for us, some of these routines were never routine. It was done in past, but in India, we all have luxury of having help for everything, right? From housekeeping to cooks to caretakers and chauffeur. So today in my family, we've divided our work, and my kids also help us grooming and cleaning the floor. If you ask me, COVID-19 has taught us lesson of humility. Things we didn't or couldn't force our kids to do, lockdown has helped us on that front on day-to-day life.
That's great. Yeah, well, quite a bit of change. I would love to see a video actually doing some of these chores. It will be fun for the viewers as well.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are doing that.
How has it affected your business life?
See, on business front, I would say from my personal work profile point of view, almost 60 to 70% of the time, we were on either virtual or face-to-face business meetings and reviews. So instead of face-to-face, most of it has got converted or moved to online and virtual. So we either use WebEx or MS Teams or Zoom as we are using it now. So not much impact on business life. For friends working in operations and in field of marketing and sales, the business life has been absolutely standstill. However, in lockdown 2.0, so I'm referring to post 14th of April, things have further slowed down even in our business life, as there is not much action on ground. So how much review or meeting you would be doing. So earlier we gave assignments to the team to work on review and revise business plans and stuff like that. Now it's not much being discussed because we still see a lot of uncertainty. On positive side, I would use or I would share that this work from home opportunity we have at least to save 2.5 hours time of travel time, especially in city like Mumbai.
Yeah.
So work life has become more productive. I think this is good time to sharpen your axe. What I mean is to take time out to retrain myself in certain areas of my interest. So like last week, I started a refresher course on lateral thinking and systems thinking. We just had a wonderful session, as I mentioned to you earlier before the call, that we had a wonderful session on systems thinking. I've registered myself for design thinking program from Stanford, which will also start very soon. As a strategic thinker, I use these concepts and frameworks. It's very helpful to update yourself with new case studies. So this is what I would recommend everyone, all my friends, that take this opportunity to sharpen your axe.
Well, I think you recently came out, you authored a book as well. I would certainly ask about that to you at the end of the session. I unfortunately didn't get the time right now, but I've already ordered it. Amazon is pretty slow right now in delivering, but I'm going to ask that more about that in the end of the session right now.
Sure.
And, being a strategic consultant, what are your major concerns for MSMEs business short terms, which would say 11 to 12 months, the midterm, 12 months or 18 months, and maybe long term, 2 years plus? And let's start with the revenue as well.
Okay, sure. So if we go with the revenue point of view, I would say it would depend on the industry to industry where the MSME company is serving. Industries that are involved in consumption, while so what I'm referring to is essential goods and consumption driven business, while expensive and aspirational products business will see a bigger hit. Example, premium mobile phones or watches, jewelry, white goods, cars, properties, etc. So broadly speaking, FMCG, utilities and essential, though it will continue the revenue, bringing in revenue for the company, but still over a period of a year, I see at least 10 to 20% drop in revenue for them. And for the non-essential companies or consumption-driven companies, which are the premium expensive ones, I would say that we can see a drop in revenue of around 25 to 40% over previous year. So industry I'm associated more is chemicals, petrochemicals, pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
So several MSMEs are served by the input material provided by companies like Reliance, where we provide polyethylene or polypropylene. Basically, we call it as polymer segment and polyester segment. The polymers are used in products like pipes, molded furniture, electric and electronic components. And we see a significant drop in all these, primarily because of the impact of COVID. Similarly, polyester filaments also used mainly in textiles. I see a dip of around 25 to 30% dip in revenue for all of these players this year. And mind you, even today, if you say, from a midterm or long-term point of view, I would say that we are still not sure. Yesterday, we heard WHO chief saying that it is just beginning in developing world, and it would peak maybe much later. So the war is not over, with China saying that there are no new cases coming up significantly. So if this pandemic is prolonged beyond September 2020, then I would say there will be a similar kind of an effect on 2021 financials.
Financials as well, yeah. And from operations point of view, I mean, we've seen literally everything as a standstill, and the governments are coming up with some ways to kind of start the work, but it's still not there yet, right? And what do you think from an operations point of view would happen?
So, in fact, this Monday, I had an opportunity to be on a call with the MSME Minister, Mr. Gadkari, and the information shared was that almost 40% of the industries have been opened up. Now, frankly speaking, I've been in touch with several companies and my friends around there. The sense I'm getting is that as of now, if you ask me, people who are supplying essentials like bare essentials, especially for healthcare workers like PPEs, personal protection equipment. So woven fibers, they are working 24/7.
Right.
People who are making masks, people who are supplying disinfectants and stuff like that. But other industries which do not fall under this category, even after opening up, are still suffering a big blow. Primarily because a lot of, as you know, a lot of workers actually went back home, and that has an impact, and they are still suffering. And I would say around 30% of the workers are coming on board even after the industries opened up. I spoke to my friends in Goa, because Goa was opened up starting Monday, as you know. And my friend is chairman of Goa Chamber of Commerce. And this was on Tuesday. So he said that we expect at least another month or so to probably see the real momentum post-opening up, because right now it's still in similar mood because the entire supply chain is not open. Now, on the other side, people who are locked down, let's say immediately, On the operations front, what happened is a lot of raw materials lying idle in their warehouse or plants.
Mm.
Many companies have products ready, which were produced for delivery,
Yeah.
but could not deliver because it was a sudden lockdown.
Yeah.
So warehouses are filled with finished goods, which are yet to be delivered to the customer.
Mm.
And they are bearing demurrage charges in warehouse. So this is on the operation side. On operation side, one more angle I want to stress more on. That's the human resource, which I just mentioned about daily
Yeah.
wage workers. They play critical role in loading and unloading goods, managing packaging lines, and various other things. And as I said, I'm not sure when they will come back. So I believe even after lockdown is over completely,
Yeah.
it may take at least a month or two to normalize the operations.
Mm. And I'm sure, I spoke to one of my friends at Sony, and they mentioned there's going to be major advertising marketing budget cuts. And that's probably my next question to you is, that's the biggest, money spender for most of the companies as well when they want to get new businesses in. What do you see on the marketing budget cuts?
Yes, I do see an overall drop in marketing spend, as this one is discretionary spend.
Mm.
However, I would say there will be a stress on marketing and sales team to get more from less. So, for example, I would rather put it as an opportunity.
Mhm.
Instead of doing virtual marketing spend, now is the time to refocus
Mm.
and do the same marketing spend or maybe a little less through a multi-channel approach
Mm.
and with the thrust on more targeted and digital marketing. So company like yours, I think, should really up their ante and reach out to larger companies over a period of time.
Mm. Mm. And you see probably 50% marketing budget cuts in general?
Uh, I, I would really not be able to put number on this.
Yeah. Depends
Because it would
on the
depend
industry.
on company to company. If the company is into the mode of growth phase, has just launched some products, they might see this as an opportunity to give a good branding, to give a brand recall when the market goes up later.
Mm.
So you really don't know how
Yeah.
things pan out. But personally speaking, people would want to optimize, would want to get more out of less, and hence digital marketing will be way forward.
Yeah, will be way forward. Yeah. Yeah. Are you also looking at other revenue models and other sources of income?
Well, I think I'm glad, Avinash, you asked this very good question. In fact, you asked me, all MSME should look at a collaborative approach to maximize revenue potential.
Mm.
I put it in an apostrophe, collaborative approach to maximize revenue potential. So what I mean by that, there are two approaches, broadly speaking. First, look at your product basket and the offering you have to your existing customers, especially the loyal customers.
Mm.
Ask what more my existing customer can buy from me, especially from product basket point of view. So, currently if you are offering A, B, and C in the basket of products which typically your customer is using, can you collaborate with somebody who's not selling those products to that company and you leverage on your relationship? So that's one. The second is by expanding customers and geography. So fundamentally markets. So when you ask me, it's a good time to relook at your 2x2 matrix and see which are the new geographies you can reach out to. And here again, focus on collaborative approach. Look for partners who are non-conflict to your business and companies. And rather than competing, a complementary product portfolio and do the other way around. So fundamentally, you are trying to look for companies who don't have presence in your geography, but offer a portfolio extension, and vice versa. You're looking for companies who have connect with similar kind of customers, and you provide products which are complementing their portfolio and expanding your revenue potential. So this is one of the key approach I would recommend on
Yeah,
it.
so
Whether it's
a lot of innovative ways would have to come in place to work together to make sure you support each other during these times, and like you said, complement each other in terms of bringing the products in.
right, right.
Do you see the big three failing in any particular industry, since they have a lot of debts, their
Here,
operations?
yeah.
We've
So
seen
just
Airbnb. I'll a little elaborate. You've seen Airbnb, Uber coming up during this crisis of 2007 and 8. There's innovation happened in the
right,
industry. Uh,
yeah.
you see innovations happening as big three as failing as well, not maybe big three, one, two.
Before I come to big three, I think you used the right word, innovation. So let me put two words on that.
Hmm.
So if you ask me, there is a great possibility for the companies, large or small, to reevaluate their products in terms of the features. So this is something where I have been also advocating whether the features which you are currently offering on your product, is it something what your customers is looking for?
Hmm.
Can you reduce the feature and reduce the cost? Example is No Frill Airlines, which was born out of this approach. And
Yeah.
today Indigo is a market leader. So
Hmm.
there is a possibility of relooking at your product features. Packaging was another example where people came in with small packs, and today it gave you an extended reach to rural folks. So on the innovation side, there is value-based selling approach where one can relook at segmenting the customers and segmenting your product offering basis of that customer and relook at the pricing strategy around. Now coming back to your main question, where do you see the big three failing?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, whatever I have been associated with Tata's and with Reliance, as
Yeah.
you know, I don't see them failing fundamentally because they have a very diverse product and market and industry exposure and portfolio. So I don't see them failing so easily. That's my point.
Oh, this was not part of my question, which was making yesterday. What do you think about Facebook putting in almost 43,000 crores, $5.7 billion in Geo? Brings a smile to your face now. So,
But I think I'll avoid this question as I'm not a spokesperson for Reliance, and I would not want to put that.
sure, no
It's not
problem. No
associated.
problem. I don't want to put you on spot
Sorry.
for that. What are the ripple effects do you think you expect during this ongoing crisis and concern for MSMEs? You've touched a little bit on your past answers, but moving forward, the ripple effects for most of these companies you're working with as well.
Sure. So the MSME, as we all know, is one of the largest employer everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Today, almost 40 to 50% of employment is generated in the so-called unorganized MSME sector. And MSMEs are often supply feeder to large corporations in terms of input, parts, or services. So the ripple effect on employment sustenance is going to be a huge component. As we all know that the cost of employees, especially MSMEs who have hired high cost resources, are the ones who would be asked to take the highest pay cuts, is what my sense is. It's not about MSME. I think almost all large corporations also would look at going in for a pay cut. So that's one ripple effect. The moment we say there is going to be a pay cut, it means the ripple effect is the spend on discretionary items or luxury items is going to be going down. And in turn, it is going to get into a vicious cycle. And hence, that's the ripple effect I see. Loss of jobs, reduction in salaries, and that would have a big significant impact on overall economy and overall industry, is my view. So another big aspect one would look at is focus on working capital and cash flow management. I would say that we will see more and more delay in payments. Earlier, if it was 90-day payment, now you have to be ready with maybe 180-day payment periods. There'll be huge margin pressure across our board, and broadly, this would affect and impact cash flow and cash to cash cycles. And that will also further stress on the working capital. So this is something which cash is going to be king, and we need to preserve that to avoid a major ripple effect on the
So, so that partly answers my next question. What are your recommendations to mitigate these problems? You've talked about a little bit about cash flows, handling cash flows properly, but any other solutions you recommend?
So as I mentioned, that cash is king. So
Yeah.
try to realign customers.
Mm.
Segment your customers into A, B, and C class. All of us have good customers, okay customers, and bad customers.
Mm.
Sometimes we get emotionally attached to the business and don't really look at threadbare customer by customer profitability, product by product profitability. This is the time not to be emotional. Focus on A class products, A class customers, and be selective, as the resources are going to be limited. And hence, it's good time to eliminate your C class or D class customers. It's good time to clean up. It's like that you've got an opportunity, as I said.
Yeah.
You sharpen your axe. Similarly, it's an opportunity to clean up your business and books.
Yeah.
It's the best time to relook at, and you have a valid reason.
Yeah.
So that's something which I would recommend to mitigate these problems and still continue doing good job.
You talked a little bit about you had a session with Mr. Gadkari, and that brings my next question: is what government reforms or measures do you expect to help protect the MSME players in the market that the government still should do?
Yeah. Well, this is a question many people keep asking me, and I would like to say that we need to understand that government is also cash strapped.
Yeah.
And has run into double trouble.
Yeah.
On one side, revenue inflows as taxes is freezed, and due to economic lockdown, and on the other side, we are talking about they have a responsibility to offer bailout packages and bring economy back to normal. The government has already taken various measures, including support for 3 months moratorium period, interest waivers, easy loans, working capital, special bonds, stuff like that. From purely internal company and industry point of view, my recommendation is that government should focus on ring fencing Indian consumers and customers to be served by Indian products. This is the time, whatever oppositions or the world says or WTO says, this is an opportune time to relook at, because almost all countries is going to do that.
Yeah.
We can be not so generous and be very clear, at least for another year or two. We need to safeguard our Indian industry by creating maybe non-tariff barriers or bringing in some kind of anti-dumping duties wherever it is required. The case in point is a lot of pharmaceutical industry, which is heavily dependent on China for key raw material and active pharma ingredient. I think this industry had and has all the wherewithal to build that API industry back again in India. Many of them have already started. So it's a good opportune time for India to revive these fine chemical industries, bring in those anti-dumping duty. And another aspect, one need to also be alert. And that is what I've also, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I've talked about.
Yeah.
That most of the countries, especially China, which has world scale plants, is already coming back on track. And it is, what you call it, as hungry for business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And waiting for the lockdowns to get over and dump their goods across the world.
Yeah.
Now, this is something which will kill all other players in the country. And hence, it's very, very important that the predatory pricing approach or offers which China would make should be negated, and only government can help us, industry players, to do so. That's what I recommend. ring
You know,
fence.
you've seen a lot of backslash from other governments towards the Chinese government, and they want to remove, like, the Japan government offered $2.2 billion for the Japanese companies to bring some of the work back from China to Japan. So, and they all keep saying that India is probably going to be a winner in this entire part because countries around the world still feel safe with the Indian government, especially with the Modi-led government. Do you see that a big opportunity for India in the next 4 or 5 years?
Yes, definitely, I see a big opportunity. However, it would come provided as I said, that we'll need to improve on variety of areas. I would say in terms of overall operational efficiency, our workman output, skilled labor, the quality aspects of it, R&D, various areas of business. India is far, far behind China.
Mm.
I was speaking to my friend immediately after that note which came out about Japan. So my friend, he's a CEO of Layers Consulting Japan.
Mm.
So I was asking him that, how do you see, because they have clients in China, they have a good office in China. So he was sharing that, Manish, uh, we do agree that that will be a good opportunity, but the amount of investments which Japanese companies have done in China
Yeah,
are pretty much huge,
yeah,
and it's not easy to come out of it so easily
right.
from just a statement by
Yeah,
a government or the prime minister.
yeah.
It would take its own sweet time,
Mm.
and China would not keep quiet. They
Mm.
would want to offer
Yeah,
more subsidies or more benefits
yeah.
to these Japanese companies to retain that investment or
Mm.
continue investment in China.
Mm.
So that angle also need to be looked at. And
Mm.
hence, I think it's not just about India. So let's say electronic and electrical components. Taiwan is also going to be a major beneficiary.
Yeah, yeah.
Malaysia would be a major beneficiary.
Mm. Mm.
So for India would be a challenge which still remains, and that is something which I personally recommend each MSMEs or large or small companies who are looking for global partners to come and invest.
Mm.
We need to give them red carpet welcome,
Mm.
not only from government point of view, but also from offering skilled labors
Mm.
and more honest approach towards business.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Is there an organization in your industry which can come together and fight this?
If you ask me, almost all industry bodies like CII, FICCI, ASSOCHAM, Bombay Chambers, MSME Chambers of India, etc., are the nodal bodies, I would say, which have government support. And as I said that earlier, I was involved in policy making support for chemicals, petrochemicals. We used to take inputs from all these bodies.
Mm.
Besides this, there are so many industry specific associations which are by the people for the people, which means like the Indian say IPMA
Mm.
or Plastic Manufacturing Association. So these are small associations, but have got voice. ICC, Indian Chemical Council. So
Mm.
these are the bodies which have significant say,
Mm.
uh, and also influence the government in terms of advocacy and policy making, and also requesting Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Finance with various white papers, supporting them with various white papers.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
hope I answered that.
Yeah, well, this is great session. I really appreciate your time. I actually wanted to talk to you about your book as well. I've heard quite a bit about it from my friends as well. Can you, maybe a couple of minutes if you like to talk about your book? How does it help generally with this downtime right now?
Uh, okay, let me put it this way. This book is primarily helping individual to come up with purpose, personal purpose.
Mhm.
And also we have a unique framework called hierarchy of aspirations. That's where one can map their personal purpose of life. So I would put it this way. It's a very good book for an individual to look at or take this as an opportune time to read this book It's available on Kindle also. And go through the journey of knowing yourself more better. Go through the journey of knowing your strengths, weakness, and mapping your personal aspirations. Good time to identify who can be your potential mentors and sponsors to help you in your journey for achieving your aspirations. In this book, there are 3 sections: know thyself, be what you want to become, and do it. That is, execute what you plan. So, a lot of ideas, concepts, and frameworks have been explained in very simple and easy to implement model. And it's more like a workbook, or I would say, a Bible for life.
Nice. And it's called Define Your
So, define your orbit.
Define
That's right.
Your
So,
Orbit.
define your orbit.
That's great. Yeah. And it's available on Amazon on Kindle as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great, great. Manish, I really appreciate. I'm pretty sure after this session gets over, once we put it up online, I'll have a lot of questions coming to me that they might want to ask you. I would love to do another session with you. Yeah,
Sure.
you know, whenever that time arises, I'll give you a shoot out and ask for you another time. I really appreciate your time right now, Manish. Your insights will really
Thank you.
help the industry as well. And hope to talk to you again.
I hope to. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye, Manish. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.